does it mean to be submissive? It really is one key component. It's actively agreeing to follow someone else's lead. I've dated bottoms who were dominant, but they said they were submissive. I've talked to tops who were submissive, but tried to act dominant. And I myself have been both of those. Quite frankly, our culture is divided on what submissive is. So this episode, I'm breaking down the kinds of submission that come up in our daily lives beyond sexual expression. So you can decide what works for you if you think you're a sub, and what you might be attracted to if you're not. What up, though? I am Jay the Gentleman. That's at JAI the Gentleman on IG and Facebook. It's Wednesday, so this is a new episode of Dear Black Gay Men podcast. It's still our short, bullshit-free step out of our comfort zone to talk about all the emotional ups and downs along the journey to happiness. Hopefully, this is our midweek reminder of how dope it is to be black gay men who love black gay men. I am Jay the Gentleman. This is Dear Black Gay Men podcast. Now, let's get into the episode. Most of us equate submission to bottoming, as if the girls are out here cowering for the dick. But some of us are even offended at the idea of submitting.
The club, making out in the club, he stops kissing me. He looks at me and he says, I don't want you to just think I'm just going to be submissive to you.
Submission, just like dominance, isn't limited to sex, nor is it something you do. Actual submission, just like actual dominance, is a way of being. It's like a default setting. You can click on the screen to see my conversation about dominance that we had last week on the podcast. I had this guy that I used to hook up with. His name, we'll call him Tristan. Of course, that's not his real name. But he was the director of something huge for a really big company. His job was making decisions all day. When he got home, though, the last thing he wanted to do was have to direct somebody or make a decision. He is a passive sub. He prefers to have as little say as possible in the output of whatever we did together. He wanted me to pick where we ate. He wanted me to decide if I drove or if he was driving. And because we were entangling, it was a hookup situation, he got turned on by explicit instructions on what I wanted him to do and how I wanted him to do it.
Don't fuck me like that. Fuck me like this.
The upside of a passive sub is the default setting is being agreeable. Now, don't mistake this for bitching out. They're not going to be a pushover, but they establish trust in a situation, an entanglement or a dating situation very early so that I can take an active lead in decision making, both big and small. Now, the downside of a passive sub is democratic decisions ain't gonna happen. They're not going to brainstorm with you to develop a game plan. The goal of a passive sub, in my experience, is to acquiesce.
I was always the one, sit back, be quiet. I'll do what you guys say do. I was always the one, they tell me what to do.
Last year, we had our first live show in DC, and I'm excited to announce our next one. Partnered with Frolic Weekend to bring our next live show to Atlanta, Georgia. Frolic is doing their nationwide tour leading up to Frolic Weekend, and Dear Black Gay Men Live is the first stop in 2024. February 3rd in Atlanta, we're bringing the drinks, some of my all-time favorite guests, and all the bald-headed hoe shit that you know and love. It's still your favorite podcaster's favorite podcast, live and in person in Atlanta, Georgia. You can get tickets at dearblackgaymen.com/events/Atlanta. The second is an active sub. Let's say we're on a road trip. If I'm the dom, I'm probably driving. A passive sub might be silent in the passenger seat and then, come what may. But an active sub is actively helping you navigate. They're checking in to make sure you're okay. They trust your ability to get us to the destination as a sub would, but they are actively contributing to the journey. The upside of an active sub is roles in a dating situation or an entanglement or a relationship can be negotiated. If you need to take a break from driving on this road trip, they got you. If you need to make an extra pit stop, they're checking the signs and seeing where the next Buc-ee's is. If you got a flat tire, they're going to be out there handing you the tools. We get to the hotel or the Airbnb, they're checking in while you unload the bags. Now, those are some very traditional gender roles, but the through line is that an active sub is actively figuring out how they can contribute to the emotional journey that you're taking together. They are your ride or die. Now, the third kind of sub is an ambivalent sub. Now, have you ever been kicking it with your boo and y'all get hungry? You say, of course, what you want to eat. He responds, just get me whatever you want to get. You say, all right, I'm getting pizza. Now, before I go to the next line, you know what they're going to say. I don't want pizza. Let's get something different. An ambivalent sub is marked by indecision. A passive sub makes a conscious decision to not decide. An active sub decides to follow and contribute. An ambivalent sub refuses to decide. They don't want to actively trust your decision making, but they also don't want to take the responsibility of deciding themselves.
I know you fucking lie.
But I think the bigger lesson is about how we trust in our culture. A major part of dominance is how well we can get others to trust our decisions. And a huge component of submission is actually trusting those decisions. But the rub for a lot of us, myself included, the hard part has been doing just that, trusting. I have been there where I've been violated or betrayed emotionally. And the end result for me was, thinking niggas ain't shit. I know y'all think that too. I interviewed Henderson Maddox and he talked about how niggas ain't shit. And that was one of the reasons why he was holding on to his bisexuality. I've been hurt. I've been lied to. I have hurt and I have been a liar. And so I know that the fruit of those types of betrayal is to just assume that everyone is out to get you. Everyone is going to fall short of your expectations of them. And we harden ourselves eventually to believe that niggas ain't shit, that ain't no good men out there, or whatever the case may be. But if we respond to emotional betrayal by denying others our trust, then you're making your next bae pay for the mistakes of the last one. You're making him pay for the fact that you didn't do the work of healing. And the problem is, he didn't hurt you. He didn't tell you to pick that motherfucker. And he for damn sure didn't tell you to stay long enough to get hurt. So you're withholding trust from him because some other nigga fucked you over. And that's not fair. The reason why dominance and submission are so ambiguous in our culture is because we don't trust. We haven't healed, so we can't trust. We don't feel, so we can't trust. We would rather live our lives unbothered so that we don't have to do the work of evolving. But homie, sister, girl, your shit stank just like anybody else's. And your job, especially while you're single, is to clean it up.
Been shit too long. It stopped smelling. So come the fuck out of there.
Our single season is here so that we can mend those hurts and learn to trust again. All niggas ain't shit. If you believe that, that's the sign that you have work to do. Trust but verify. That's another sign that you have work to do. Any thought in your head that takes you away from being present and open to the man in front of you is where your work is. And until you do that work, until you learn to trust again, you're better off single. So dear Black gay men, trust the process. If you like this content, subscribe to Dear Black Gay Men and hit the notification bell so you never miss new content or the live show. You can support us with some exclusive merch from dearblackgaymen.com. Click the link on your screen to test exactly how dominant you might be and set a reminder for Thursday at 8 p.m. for Dear Black Gay Men Live. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.